Hi everyone, this is Ashley from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and today I thought I'd share with you how I turned our Don't Get Your Tinsel in a Tangle pattern into a flat fold ornament. What you're going to need for supplies to complete this project is your finished cross stitch project, backing fabric of your choice, batting, mat board, ribbons of your choice to add along the edge of your ornament, a ruler, some type of tapestry thread. The one that we'll be using is DMC Pearl Cotton in size 12, a needle with an eye large enough to accommodate that size thread, tacky glue, scissors, rotary cutter, and then not pictured is an iron, which you'll definitely want to have. And then optional supplies are clothespins and a water-soluble marker. Let's go ahead and start assembling the ornament. First thing you'll want to do before cutting into your project is you'll want to give it a good press. Make sure when you do use the iron on your stitched portion of your project not to go over the metallic thread. Just to be on the safe side, I only pressed around the edge of my pattern just to make sure I didn't accidentally melt the metallic thread. Once it's all nice and pressed, you'll want to give yourself at least 1.5 inch borders. I have 1.5 inch borders on either side here, and then I have 2-inch borders here. Usually I do 2 on all 4 sides, but I didn't have enough room on the sides, so I stuck with 1.5 inch borders on the sides. But whatever you cut your cross stitch project to, you'll want to cut your backing fabric to the same size. And then this next step is optional, but this is where the water erasable marker comes into play. What I like to do is I mark about 1/4 inch marks on all 4 sides. And this step will actually help when it comes time for the lacing part. And like I said, it's not mandatory, but it actually is really helpful when we get to lacing. Next, we're going to cut our mat board into 2 identical pieces. This seasonal saying is 3.6 inches wide by 4.2 inches tall. So for us to create 1/2 inch borders around the entire seasonal saying, we're going to add 1 inch to both of those measurements. So our mat board was cut to 4.6 inches wide by 5.2 inches tall. Then we're going to cut 2 pieces of batting, and these ones don't have specific measurements because they will be cut down. So what I like to do is take one of my mat board pieces, set it on top, and then trace around on the batting and then cut the batting out. And you want a little bit of overhang because once the mat and batting is glued together, then we'll trim and we'll make sure it's a nice flush edge. So we'll go ahead and start gluing our batting to our mat. So we'll start with one piece and add the glue along the edge of the mat. And then pick the mat up and lay it right on top of the batting. And then press down. And then we'll do the same for the other piece. Okay, we'll let those dry. Once the mat and the batting have been glued together for a couple minutes, you can then take your scissors and trim right along the edge. Just the batting, not the mat. Just so it's a nice clean edge. we'll do the same for this one. Next, we're going to add our backing fabric to one of our mat boards. What we're going to do is you're going to want to lay your right sides down. It's a little bit hard to tell with this fabric, but we're going to lay the right side of your fabric down, and then you're going to lay the batting side of the mat down and center it like so. And then you'll want to take your glue again and run one line. I'm going to start with the long side. You can do either way, but run one line of glue down the side and fold your fabric up along the edge. Okay, we'll flip it around and do the other side. And then give a little light tug and fold the fabric again around that side. Okay, now we're going to fold the short sides. You'll want to put some of the glue on the fabric and across the edge. And this one might actually need glue a little bit further in. I forgot that this is a longer piece. So we'll add a little bit more. And you'll just fold and press. Hold it for a second and it should hold in place. And then we'll do this side. Make sure we do the line a little bit higher this time around. And then fold the fabric inward one last time. And then if you have any little stray threads like these, you can always give them a clip. Okay, so our backing is ready to go. We'll go ahead and we'll add the hanger part of the ornament so that it can sit and dry while we work on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and use this really tinsely, sparkly ribbon, and I'm going to cut it. Let's see, let me measure. That looks nice. Yeah, I'm going to cut it to 9 inches. And then you have the option of leaving the opening wide like that, so you can hang it on a tree, you could hang it on a doorknob, or if you wanted it exclusively for a tree or something narrower, you could loop it like that. I'm thinking about looping it maybe like this. I'm just going to do a quick measurement just so I get them even on both sides. I'm going to measure it so that each side of the hanger portion of the ornament measures in an inch and down an inch so that I can get them symmetrical on both sides. So that one looks good. So now this is ready to be left alone and we'll just let it dry. Now we're going to work on the front of the ornament, and we are going to attach the cross stitch portion to the mat board by lacing the back. And how we're going to do that is we're going to first lay the project on the mat board with it touching the batting side, and then we're going to flip it over. And you're going to want to try and center it as best as you can. If it's a little off, it's okay because we're going to be able to wiggle it around once it's laced. Okay, Then you're going to thread your needle. And you're going to want a long strand of thread to work with. And you're going to add a double knot, or actually I did a triple knot just to really make sure that this doesn't poke through the fabric. And you're going to start on one side. I'm going to start on the long side and work my way down. So you'll want to first add the needle in so that it is going right along the same line as the edge of the mat board. And you're going to stick it in where your fabric, if you did the fabric marker line, and just pull it until you get till the very end where your knot is. Don't want to yank on it so that the knot pops through, but you just want to get to the end of it. Then you're going to move over down here, go along the edge of the mat board again, and stick your needle through the fabric marker line again if you did add one in, and then give it a pull, and they will fold around the edge of the mat board. So now you'll just want to hold that second stitch in place and go back to the original side and just add it in just a little ways away from your original, and then hold that in place and go back to the other side. And you'll just keep doing this until you get to the opposite edge of the mat board. And there are lots of ways to lace the back of the projects. I just found this one really pretty simple and straightforward, so I like to use this when I finish up a project. Adding in the fabric marker line is nice because it kind of takes out the guesswork of where you need to put your next stitch each time, because sometimes it gets a little distorted as you pull, so it's hard to tell how many stitches you ended up going up. Put a little more thread. Do one more. Okay, last one. And then just do a little knot. And do one more just for good measure. Okay. Now we'll get started on the short side. Okay, we'll check and see. See how it's a little bit larger on that side? So we want to shimmy this over a little bit before we get going on the short side. Okay, now we'll work on the short side. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to fold fabric over, starting on your line if you have it. Add in a little piece along the edge of the fabric. Pull all the way till you're not, and then Do the same thing for the opposite side. Hold in place, and then going through both pieces of fabric. So you have this fabric and this one, the folded piece, not this piece though, but you'll want to go through both. We'll do 3 again, just to be nice and secure. And I'm just going to stick it through the center, this, pull all the way through, and then clip, and then that way you don't have to worry about the tail poking out the sides. And then go ahead and give a trim if you have any loose threads like that. Ooh, it's looking cute. So now we can kind of shimmy and get it nice and centered before we glue it to the back. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So what we want to do is I'm going to use this really sparkly wired ribbon, and I'm going to start at the bottom center and then work my way around. And I think I'm going to glue the ribbon so that it shows half of it. So glue about halfway there. And then to be able to make the corner, since it is a wired ribbon, I can carefully bend it back on itself right at the corner. And then fold the angle like this. This might take a little tweaking. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more glue. Just to the edge of the ribbon. Oh, and this is where the clothespins will come in really handy. I'm gonna go ahead and stick one on at the edge here, and then work my way up to the top. Just hold that down for a second, and then fold the ribbon back on itself again. And then I'm going to add in my next glue row. And then bend it back again. And another clothespin for the corner. Fold it back again. And then we'll bend it again. I'm going to remove that initial clothespin because it looks like I am going to have to make a couple little adjustments, but while the glue's still wet, we can do that. Scoop that edge up a bit more before we cut. So then, to make sure I have a clean edge, I'm going to cut a little bit over the center line, straight, and then fold it so that the wire doesn't show and it has a nice clean edge. Glue in place. I'm going to take these off because I know I'm going to need to do a little bit of shimmying so that everything kind of lines up. And you can also flip it over and see if there's any spots that look like it's sticking out way more. Okay, I think it's going to be time to add the front of the ornament. I think I'm going to scrap the idea of adding in the little puff balls, which I absolutely love, but I think this glitter is quite enough, and I think it actually ties in super nice with the word tinsel. So one of our last steps is to add more glue. So I'm going to add it quite a bit to the center so that they really stick together. And then I'm going to just hover over so I can get an idea of how much. I'm probably just going to go just right here around all four sides. Okay. Glitter and glue everywhere. Okay, now you're going to just set the front centered as best as possible. And then you'll want to set something heavy on top. And I think I'm going to use this poutine jar that I have with all my change in it. And then once it's all nice and dry, you have a brand new ornament or door hanging or decor for your mantle, or you could put it wherever you'd like. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to watch any of our other videos, be sure to subscribe and like this one. Thank you so much.